Yes. Hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome. And we're back in the break room. It's Thursday morning, and we're here to do some more chatting. I hope you guys are enjoying these and finding these conversations and topics useful for what you do. You guys are so great out there in the world, killing it when there are so many things happening. So many things. I'm going to pause here for a second and sip on this coffee a little and see if anybody's able to join us this morning live. So I'm probably going to send out something today and see if there is a better time, maybe same day right now, but maybe if there's a better time that works for people who want to be a part of these but haven't been able to join, maybe because of the time. And then also spreading the word that this is a free community. This is not, I do have a subscription and, paid community to be a part of. It's very low cost. But this here, what we do every Thursday together, is free. So, yeah, we got to get people enjoying that and being a part of that. And I do believe we're going to get started here too, because I do want to honor time. Ooh, yummy. Today's topic is the art of the selective no. So we want to be selective with our no's. I've been on this kick and talking about reserving our yeses. This is not, maybe I'll preface this by saying, this is not something that we want to do or become. We're not trying to create little Grinches around the world. That's not what this is about. This is literally about being more intentional with our words and our commitments, more intentional about our vision, our mission, our goal setting, what we're doing. And we are all given the same 24 hours in a day. So it's really wise to be reserving our yeses for those of us who love to say yes. I love saying yes, but we have to learn to reserve them in order to make room for the things that we need to be able to work in later, our have tos, our get tos, and then our our shoot for the stars situations, right? If we are saying yes to every single thing, we don't leave ourselves a lot of room to make some real choices that slide into what we've got going on. And we can increase the number of our yeses if, for those of us who love to say yes, we can increase the ability for us to say yes more often if we have a plan, if we understand what it looks like when we're in that mode, if we understand our filter that we filter our requests through, if we understand that component of what it means when we're saying no. So today it's about the art of the selective no. So it's having a choice, right? So the question of the day is, what is one good thing you need to say no to this month so you can say yes to something great? What's one good thing you need to say no to so that you can say yes to something great? Okay. When we stack ourselves up with a ton of even good things, right? We can limit our ability to be able to pursue something that's next level and typically we do find ourselves at a place where we want to go to the next level. We want to we don't want to necessarily find ourselves being complacent, and we understand being comfortable feels good, but we know as leaders, if we're riding in comfort for a long time, it typically means that we have some room to grow. Right. So enjoy our comfort spots. I'm not trying to rush you out of that comfortability too soon, because I think that's another thing we struggle with, is not necessarily understanding how to sit in our comfort and sit in those things and then really enjoy them. But we want to be able to say yes to our next level things, the things that maybe we've had on the shelf. We want to make room for the things that we haven't even considered yet. And it's hard to do that if we're saying yes to everything. Um, so here we go. Hindsight is microscopic. Hindsight is always going to be unforgiving. It's not going to give us a lot of choices, right? We can see where we went wrong. We can see why we did something if we take the time to look back. But hindsight always gives us more information. So uh, the thought is, what are we doing with that information? Okay. So hindsight is useful, but let's not rely on it, because it usually means that we've already missed a particular opportunity. And so how do we do that? We look at our ability to, in this case, be selective with our no's. And what does that involve? One of the things is our that's involved in this is our emotional boundaries. So you got to manage the guilt that comes with saying no sometimes. And I know this is not everyone's reality, but we're just leaning into that edge today. We want to be able to manage the guilt of saying no to people you care about. That's a tough one. I literally often want to clone myself because I don't like saying no to people I care about. But we have to do that sometimes, right? And um, so we have to manage that feeling that comes up when we're having to say no. And what that looks like for each one of us is going to look differently. For me, it's just kind of like reminding myself that with loved ones, if I have helped them to see their value and understand and create a space between our relationship where a no is welcome or allowed, then they can stand to see that coming from the other direction, right? It's not always easy, especially when we've trained people with our yeses, but we can manage that guilt by just talking it through real quick, and learning to not feel guilty for things that you have to do for yourself. Or maybe you're having to say no to one person you care about because you're doing something for your job or your community, something outside of that unit of care of custody that you have with the people. That gets tough sometimes because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going out and doing something outside of this circle of care, and someone inside it needs me, and I'm not able to be there today. So um, it's a cape in a superhero kind of thing. You're going to need to relieve yourself from that, and in whatever way that's useful for you, but reminding yourself that you are not able to do it all, nor are you in charge of it all. We read about superheroes, but those fantasy style superheroes don't exist. So remember that in those days when you're feeling real crunchy for having to say no to people you care about. Another thing to think about is what kind of reputation or street cred are you building around setting clear boundaries? Okay. Um, we want that to increase. We want to see retention and people believing what we say because we do what we say and we honor our word. Okay. So what that looks like is when we're practicing our no's and even our yeses, but today's about the no. When we're practicing our no's, we need to be very uh, have clear communication. Okay, clear and respectful communication. And then we want to be consistent with how we show up with our no's that way, right? So if we practice a way that we're engaging in our no's and how we're delivering that information, people will come to get used to that and recognize that and can expect that. And then that kind of alleviates some of the things that you're dealing with early on when you're first starting to practice these principles. So be on purpose about establishing clear communication, respectful communication, and consistent communication with your no's. I think one of the things that I see rise to the top with lots of people, instead of saying no, they do this avoidance thing where they just ignore the request or question, act like they didn't see it. Some people, they saw it, and they saw it, and they still avoid answering. And that is really, it feels like an easier way to handle those things in the moment, but it is not conducive for building relationship or establishing what I call street cred, right? And I do a whole workshop about street cred and why it matters. And maybe I'll do that a little bit later this year, especially with everything that's going on in our world right now. Okay. But, anyways, all that to say, we want to develop our relationship bank account in a way that it stays in the positive, right? We don't want to hop down in the negative when we have anything to do with it. Okay. Now, lastly, we want to talk through language. Okay, so I talked about the clear communication. You want to develop a language for for saying no or declining a request while not necessarily doing something that's going to have you lose the ability to collaborate. So that is a negotiation type skill set that you're working with in there. You want to voice what it is that you're trying to say, but not necessarily in such abrupt and closed-ended um, ways. Like, don't do that, because if you do it that way, you're literally shortening the string between you and that person. And if you keep doing it that way, if you get that opportunity again, you could totally lose a collaborator. Whereas if you develop the language necessary, which involves knowing who you're talking to, but develop the language necessary to decline a request while leaving the door open for communication again in the future. And that usually goes along, uh, it usually happens by acknowledging the level of importance this person is seeing in what they are asking you to do, and then maybe connecting something that that they saw in you or that you have that makes you the person that they came to for the request. Connecting those things together and leaving room for future possibilities on purpose, like out loud, whether it's in print or in the conversation, uh, opening and leaving that door open so that you can have room for future collaborations and future connections if possible. Okay. Now, this week, what I would love for you guys to do to practice this whole skill, because that's what it is, I want you to say no or not right now to something that is maybe a low priority, okay? Because we don't want you to do it on something high risk. something that's a low priority this week, and then observe how that makes you feel. What is going on within you? What is your reaction on the inside? What is the reaction? Maybe you kind of take mental note and jot it down, the reaction of the person or that's involved with the no. And then also write down what your response is to their response. Okay, because that's important as well. We need to leave room for people to be disappointed, is what I'm saying. How they act when they're disappointed is on them, but we do need to leave room for disappointment, and us still need to be able to kind of keep going and do what we have to do, and what the other reasons we said no. Okay, so let's practice that this week, and maybe you could talk about it in the chat with me, with others. Just share your thoughts of how that made you feel, and yeah, we'll go and do that again and again and again and again. Okay. Oh, my brain got stuck for a second. It's only because I've had only a couple of sips of this coffee and not the whole thing. Maybe that's it. We'll blame it on that. How about that? Well, guys, thank you for joining me for another week in the break room. If you are hearing this at a later time and you heard my question about the time we're meeting, uh, day we're meeting, I'm open to hearing from you guys on changing that up if it allows you to be a part of the conversation in real time. Hit me up, let me know. Okay, talk to you soon. See you next week in the break room. Bye, guys.